Hello everybody. I'm here and I'm ready to do this talk because it's really important for me to do it. The title is Tomorrow Never Comes, so Wake Up. And before I actually get on with my talk, this is a quote that really means a lot to me, and you can see it's by Nelson Mandela. There is no passion in settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of. Always resonates very much with me. Why I'm beginning with this quote is it resonates with my work as a chartered counselling psychologist, as a mentor, and also as an author. It pervades through me and also through the written word and the spoken word. What I'd like to begin with is, some of you might have heard of Bronnie Ware. She's an Australian woman. She's done some TED Talks actually. And she wrote a book because she worked for 8 years with the terminally ill. Those who were in the last dying stages of between 3 weeks and 12 weeks. And the title of her book was called The Top Regrets of the Dying. And for me, it was fascinating to find out what she found out, because she's done the top 5 themes. I'm now buggering it up, but never mind. The top 5 themes that she found out. I wish I'd had the courage to live the life that I wanted to live, not the life that others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I'd kept in contact with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. So you could imagine this is what people were saying as they were dying, and that's what she pulled together. I imagine that 1 maybe, or even 2, or even more of these themes that she found would resonate with some of you here. Really interesting things that she found out. I imagine you're going to find that there's a theme running through my talk today, because I'm going to focus on the first regret. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life that was true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. This might not be the most uplifting question to ask you, but if you were on your deathbed, what would your regrets be? You might be saying, I have no regrets. I've lived a good life. Or you might be saying, yeah, I lived a good enough life. But what about me? Where did I go? What happened to those dreams? I'm going to ask you to reflect a wee bit further around this area, because it's to do with, when I was doing my research on this, I found a saying that for me really was quite profound. The inner kill, the art of dying without knowing it. For me, it connects because in my work, particularly with women, is it something that I've found out. Just that, they don't even know that they're dying inside. I take it to mean that people are actually alive and they're going about their normal business. But inside there's a pain, there's a yearning, there's a feeling of something's missing and I don't know what. So that's what it means for me when I read that quote. It's like you're only existing. You're not actually in life, being truly part of it. You're still living the life that others expected of you, not your own choice. You've been denying your connection with yourself, with your soul. It's a painful place to be, even though we don't know that we are there. We as human beings struggle. We struggle with the fact of trying to belong. We actually need to belong. That's the human condition. But it's also part of the struggle because we also want to be an individual. We want to be a person in our own right. And it can be difficult. It can be hard to be in there and part of and on the outside. And what I actually found too was they've done some research, and the research shows, believe it or not, when we're on the outside and people seem to be having a lovely time and everything like that, and we've not chosen to be on the outside, we have the same pain in our brain as we have when we've got physical pain. So just think about that. I never knew that. It's like we actually feel it in our body. You know, not just that like, oh, I feel uncomfortable and I'll try and get in. But it's actually, we feel it in the same area. Important. And maybe that's why when we are on the outside, we want to cry. And we do what we can to be on the inside. We give ourselves away once more. Again, you and I know that life is complex. We so want it to be black and white because then we're safe, we're secure. Because if we do this, this will happen. We really don't want it to be both and. Because when it's both and, we're not safe. There's no firm ground to stand on. And the biggest thing is, we as individuals have to take responsibility for the choices we make. That's hard, because no longer can we say, it's your fault. Oh no, it was yours. Or God, it's the whole world. It's their at fault, it's not mine. So that's the difference when it's both and yet that's what life is all about. So what I'm going to tell you is all about what I found out personally and professionally, how we as people put up these barriers to not living life authentically, to not living that life that's true to ourselves. And these are some of them. Oh, sorry. First one, we live by the rules. You know those rules that we mustn't waver outside? We really have to fit in, and it's like, no, can't do that because these are the rules. That's a big one. This one, maybe some of you will know because I know it. We're so busy focusing on others, helping them, that we forget about ourselves. And what I want to say is, it's amazing how many women in particular are drawn to the helping professions. We feel better. Still stops us from looking at ourselves. I can own that one, being in the helping profession. One day I will, the procrastination. Tomorrow never comes. Always too busy. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it the weekend. That's on the agenda for next year or whenever. Do we actually get round to it? We don't. You ignore that inner voice. That voice that's there inside you. Maybe just in a tiny wee way, or in a loud voice that says, what about me? When are you going to see me? When are you going to listen to me? These pressures come from your family and peers. When you say like, oh, I would love to do this, and they go, it's a good idea, but have you thought of what could happen? What about this? Da, 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 da. And in the end you go, oh, well, maybe it wasn't such a good idea. The next one, you numb yourself with any of the addictions, whether it's sex, drugs, gambling, shopping, eating, whatever. You do it is to numb that pain inside. You probably know what your own addictions are. We've all got them in our own way. The feelings of fear, the big one. Fear of shame, fear of embarrassment, fear of not being liked, fear of anything you want to say. Each of us will know what it is that we are frightened of. Lots of fear, lots of fear. One of the ones, and I think we're really good here, the tall poppy syndrome, because we've stood up and been counted, and then a lot of people will try and push us down. It's pretty prevalent in our country, pretty prevalent. An area that I work with women particularly on is the imposter syndrome. We put on the mask that says, I'm fine, I'm okay, yeah, everything's lovely, see me, doing it great. But inside there's the fear of being found out. I know that one. It's like you can take the girl out of Glasgow, but you can't take Glasgow out of the girl. And then my one, it's about you keep yourself in your comfort box. Whether you've made it a palace, absolutely beautiful, or a prison. That's what you've done to yourself. So if you hold, these are just some of the things that we put around us in order not to be true to ourselves and listen to ourselves. And again, I'm sure some of you know and can add to my list. There's lots more. So saying that, then I come on to, and what can you do about it? How can you then start moving those barriers that you've put up around you in your own way? And I must use this. First one is really important. You make the time and the space to ask yourself, what's important to me? We don't do that very often. We might do it for our friends, our family, for our clients and anybody else. We don't really give ourselves that time and space. So that's the first one. You've actually owned what you're frightened of, and you've actually faced your fears. And that can be starting with one, going very slowly, taking it step by step, or you could actually make a big leap and jump. This one, you actually have the courage to deal with your inner life. And what I found, and forgive me those French-speaking people, cœur actually means heart. So when we take our courage in both hands, we're listening to our heart. It's really important. For me, it's like knowing that. It's like when I say to people, you've got a lot of courage, I'm also saying to them, and I can see you're coming from your heart. You stop listening to your own and others' fears and doubts. You might acknowledge them, or you might just ignore them, like just turn your back on them or say thank you and no thanks. You listen to your own self, that voice, not their doubts and fears. If you're ready to do something like listen to yourself, you'll do it. No longer will the doubts and fears put you off. You can acknowledge them, and that's fine. You become aware of what's blocking you from your potential. Whether that's in a huge big way or a small way that can still be huge for you, you become aware of what's blocking you. You've got so much to offer. Start looking at yourself. As has been said earlier in one of the talks, you begin to acknowledge what's good about you. Appreciate all that you have, your gifts, your talents, rather than always looking for, oh, if only I could have, I would have, and look at them and da 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 da. It's about acknowledging what we have. You know, right. I think I've jumped a wee bit, it doesn't matter. You become, oh no, I'll do this, hope. I like this one. Hope, I like it because, again, because I love reading and doing things and learning from other people. Hope in the context of believing that something is worth doing when the outcome isn't obvious, and it might never come to fruition in our lifetime. Hope. When you accept yourself, when you come from that place, then you've got a choice in what you do. I had a client many years ago. Her husband was a gambler. He also had another job, but the extra money came through gambling. And she came because she couldn't stand it anymore. The big house and etc., etc. And we did some work together. And when she came back the next week, she said, what you said about acceptance really hit home. I've accepted he is a gambler and I don't want to leave him. So now this is my reality and I can choose from that place, which is a big difference from how it had been before. Even though in some people's eyes it wouldn't, it always is. And I'm going to being comfortable. There's nothing better and stronger than to come from a place inside you that says, I'm comfortable with myself, with my forgetting, not being able to press the right button and etc., etc. It's that comfortability, which isn't actually a word and I don't care. It's like when you come from that place, you can be with anybody in any situation and it doesn't matter. And why that is because you'll know your own strengths and your own limitations and also your vulnerability. So be comfortable with yourself. So I just tell you, the reason I'm passionate about this subject is important, I think, for you to know. Some years ago, I was in intensive care. For 2 weeks, I was in intensive care. I'd had bowel cancer, and my family, my son and my father, my husband were told 40% chance of you living. Well, look at me now. I'm here, and I'm talking, and I'm laughing, and I'm living my life. Not that I want any of you to face what I faced, or to go through the trauma of what I went through. I want you to know the old saying, whatever you want to do, you can do it. So hear that one. And again, I'll just tell you once more, the way to do that is to start listening to yourself, to look inside and hear that voice. I would hate for any of you to hide your light under a bushel. You deserve to shine. You've got so much to offer. That spark of aliveness is in us all. It's simply covered up. And remember, quite simply, you don't need to be anything other than yourself, because yourself is unique. There's only one of you. Well, I'm just going to finish. This is important. The tragedy of life is death, but what we let die inside of us. Just take a moment just to take that in. And my last words to you are, wake up, live life to the full, and have some fun. Thank you.